Ozzy Osbourne is a rock icon known for his wild energy, unforgettable voice, and decades-long career in heavy metal. From his early days as the frontman of Black Sabbath to his successful solo career and rise as a reality TV star, Ozzy has remained a powerful force in music and pop culture. Fans have followed his journey through fame, chaos, and comeback after comeback. But now Ozzy Osbourne has finally broken his silence about his ongoing health battle, and what he reveals is truly tragic. The Prince of Darkness rises. Long before the leather jackets, the bat-biting headlines, and the sold-out arenas, Michael Osbourne was just a kid growing up in Aston, a working-class neighborhood in Birmingham, England. Born in 1948, Ozzy didn't come from privilege or glamour. He was the fourth of 6 children, raised in a tiny home with barely enough space, let alone money. Life was simple, tough, and loud, exactly the kind of place that breeds heavy metal. Ozzy struggled in school, dealing with undiagnosed dyslexia and relentless bullying. He found an escape in the Beatles, especially after hearing "She Loves You." Music gave him a spark, and that spark turned into a fire when he decided to pursue it seriously in his late teens. It all came together when he joined forces with guitarist Tony, bassist Geezer, and drummer Bill. The band was first called Earth, but after discovering another band had the same name, they switched it to something darker, Black Sabbath. The name fit the sound they were after. Loud, gloomy, and heavy, Sabbath didn't follow musical trends. They made their own rules. When their self-titled debut album came out in 1970, people didn't know what to make of it. But Ozzy's haunting voice over Tony's thunderous riffs hit a nerve. Suddenly, Sabbath wasn't just a band. They were the birth of a new genre, and Ozzy, he became the face of it. Through albums like Paranoid, Master of Reality, and Volume 4, the band changed the sound of rock forever. Ozzy's vocals weren't just distinctive. They were raw, real, and filled with energy you couldn't fake. His presence on stage was wild and unpredictable, and it made fans feel like anything could happen. But behind the scenes, Ozzy's world was already starting to spin out of control. His use of alcohol and drugs grew with his fame. He was never shy about his habits. If anything, he wore them like armor, but that armor came with a cost. In 1979, after years of internal tension, Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath. It could have been the end. Instead, it was a new beginning. With Sharon, his soon-to-be wife and manager, by his side, Ozzy launched a solo career that took him even higher. Albums like Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman gave the world classic tracks like Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley. He became a household name, not just in rock, but in pop culture. Ozzy's image as the Prince of Darkness grew larger than life. He bit the head off a bat on stage. He had feuds, breakdowns, and reality TV shows. Yet somehow, despite everything, he kept going. Through the 1980s, 1990s, and into the 2000s, Ozzy remained a constant in a world of shifting sounds. But even back then, something else was always present. Something that didn't make headlines. Every year on tour, every wild moment was another drop in a cup that was slowly filling. The human body can only take so much, and Ozzy, despite the legend, the fame, and the antics, was still just a man. Looking back now, it's easy to say that they were always there, but at the time, no one wanted to see them. Not the fans, not the band, maybe not even Ozzy himself. But even legends built of iron can start to feel the rust. No one knew just how soon. Chaos, glory, and the price of fame. Ozzy's solo career wasn't just a comeback, it was a full-blown reinvention. After being fired from Black Sabbath, many thought he wouldn't last. But with Sharon stepping in to manage him, everything changed. She believed in him when few others did. And Ozzy, with all his chaos and talent, delivered. His first solo album, Blizzard of Oz, hit hard. Released in 1980, it introduced the world to Crazy Train, a song that would define Ozzy for decades. His new band, including young guitar prodigy Randy Rhoads, gave him the energy and sound he needed. They were fresh, tight, and loud. People weren't just paying attention, they were obsessed. But the chaos didn't stay on the stage. Offstage, Ozzy's life remained as wild as ever. His struggles with addiction didn't fade with success. In fact, the pressure to stay relevant, tour constantly, and live up to the madman image only added fuel to the fire. In 1982, tragedy struck. Randy died in a plane crash while on tour. The loss hit Ozzy hard. He wasn't just a bandmate. He was a friend, a creative partner, and someone who brought calm to Ozzy's storm. After Randy's death, Ozzy spiraled further. His drinking got worse. There were arrests, public outbursts, hospital stays, but somehow, the music never stopped. Sharon stayed with him through all of it. She became more than just a manager. She was the glue keeping everything from falling apart. Ozzy often said she saved his life. And not just once. She got him into rehab. She pushed him back into the studio. She protected his legacy, even when he couldn't protect himself. Through the 1980s and 90s, Ozzy continued to release albums and tour. No More Tears, released in 1991, gave fans another anthem, and his fan base only grew. Younger generations who never saw Black Sabbath live became Ozzy fans through MTV, late-night shows, and eventually the Osbournes reality series. It gave the world a new look at the man behind the myth. He was funny, confused, gentle, and unpredictable. The show made him a pop culture icon all over again. But the image on TV, mumbling, off balance, and spaced out, wasn't just for laughs. There was something else going on. People joked about it. They chalked it up to years of partying. But behind the scenes, the truth was slower, quieter, and far more serious. Ozzy was hurting. His body wasn't keeping up with his spirit. Every tour took more out of him. Every step on stage came with pain. His hands sometimes trembled. He fell more often. But Ozzy rarely talked about it. He kept moving forward because that's what he'd always done. Over time, the signs got harder to ignore. Cancelled shows became more frequent. Interviews were harder to follow. Fans were concerned, but Ozzy stayed mostly silent. When asked, he'd crack a joke or brush it off. The image of the indestructible rock god was one he didn't want to let go of. He had always been the guy who beat the odds. The man who went from a factory job in Birmingham to the biggest stages in the world. He survived the wildest lifestyle in rock history. He lost friends, nearly died more than once, and still came back. To many, Ozzy seemed unstoppable. But even a legend has limits. And slowly, Ozzy started to face them. His world, once filled with arenas, flights, and flashing lights, became quieter. He started spending more time at home. The man who had once screamed across stadiums was now listening to doctors, measuring pills, and counting his steps just to walk across a room. And just when it seemed like he had it all figured out, the ground started to shift beneath him. The hidden decline. For years, Ozzy never stopped moving. Even when his health started to slip, he pushed through. He'd cancel one show and reschedule 3 more. He'd fall on stage, get back up, and keep going. But in recent years, things changed. And not just physically. Ozzy wasn't speaking as much. Not in interviews, not to fans, not even to the media. In 2019, Ozzy revealed he had suffered a serious fall at home that aggravated old injuries from a 2003 ATV accident. He needed surgery. Recovery was slow. Then, in early 2020, He told the world something no one expected to hear. He had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a progressive neurological condition. It wasn't the kind of news fans were used to hearing from Ozzy. He was the Prince of Darkness, after all, not someone associated with weakness or decline. But this time, there was no mask. Ozzy was visibly shaken when he shared the news during an interview. He admitted he didn't know what the future would hold. Still, even after that announcement, Ozzy tried to stay active. He released new music. He spoke about recording again. He even hinted at touring, though many were unsure if he could handle it. Behind the scenes, he was undergoing treatments in Switzerland, relying on family support, and holding on to hope that things might get better. But as time went on, fans noticed the silence returning. Ozzy's public appearances slowed to a crawl. Sharon gave occasional updates, but Ozzy himself mostly stayed quiet. He appeared frail in photos, thinner, more distant. Rumors began to swirl. Was this the end? Was Ozzy ever coming back? Those close to him kept insisting he was fighting. They said he had good days and bad days, but even the good days didn't look like they used to. Ozzy had to learn how to move more carefully. He needed help walking. He couldn't stand for long, and the thing that had once come so naturally, getting on stage and screaming into a microphone, was now nearly impossible without intense planning. Despite all this, Ozzy never fully let go of the dream of performing again. He often said that music gave him a reason to live. It wasn't about money or fame anymore, it was about connection. The stage was the only place he ever felt truly alive, and he wasn't ready to say goodbye. But with each passing month, that dream started to feel further away. Tour dates were announced, then quietly removed. Appearances were planned, then canceled. Each time fans hoped for a miracle, and each time the reality became harder to deny. Ozzy, the man who once screamed louder than anyone, was growing quieter by the day. Still, in rare interviews, he kept saying the same thing, "I'm not done yet." But his body didn't seem to agree. He could barely walk without assistance. He was in and out of hospitals. He talked less, smiled less, and slowly started retreating from the public eye. And all the while, the man who had become a symbol of survival, who had somehow outlived nearly everyone from his generation of rock stars, was quietly battling one of the hardest chapters of his life. People close to him described moments of deep reflection. He wasn't bitter, but he was tired. There were days when he couldn't get out of bed. There were moments when he questioned whether he'd ever sing in front of a crowd again. For someone like Ozzy, that was heartbreaking. And yet, through all the silence, something had been building. Something he hadn't shared with the world just yet. A decision, a final act, a way to close the curtain on his own terms. A final stage awaits. By 2024, Ozzy's silence had become the loudest part of his story. Each rare sighting, each blurry hospital photo, each whispered update only deepened the worry. Fans scanned his face for clues. Was he getting better? Or was this the end slowly unfolding before their eyes? Sharon kept insisting he was fighting. His children said he was in good spirits. But behind the scenes, things weren't easy. Ozzy's condition had grown more complicated. Parkinson's, spinal issues, nerve damage, surgeries. His body had been through more than most people could imagine, and still, he held on. He tried to stay involved. He gave scattered interviews, appeared briefly on the Osbournes' podcast, and spoke about the importance of family. But gone were the days of wild antics and sharp-witted banter. Ozzy's energy had shifted. His voice was softer, his gaze was slower. Yet amid all this, something unexpected started happening. Quiet, subtle hints began to emerge, small signs that Ozzy was planning something. It wasn't loud or flashy, but those close to him could feel it. He was working on something personal, something big, something final. There were conversations about music again, but not the way he used to talk about it. Ozzy wasn't dreaming about long tours or new albums. he was focused on one thing. One moment. In early 2025, a trusted friend let something slip in an interview. When asked about Ozzy, they paused, smiled, and said, "He's not done." That was it, just a sentence. But it sent a wave through the fan base. What did he mean? Was Ozzy preparing for something? A comeback? A goodbye? Suddenly, eyes were back on Ozzy. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt full of tension. Everyone was waiting. Whispers began to spread. Ozzy had been spending time in the studio, not to record, but to rehearse. Not for a tour, but for something more symbolic. It wasn't confirmed. Nothing was announced. But longtime friends and collaborators were showing up at his home. Production managers were reportedly contacted. There were calls to old bandmates, lighting technicians, stage crew. Ozzy breaks the silence. In early 2025, Ozzy Osbourne finally spoke out. After years of speculation, silence, and concern from fans around the world, the moment came quietly. There was no stadium, no roaring crowd, and no thunderous guitar behind him. Instead, he appeared on camera at home, surrounded by memories of a long and intense life, framed album covers, photos from decades of touring, and the soft mechanical sound of nearby medical equipment. He looked noticeably different. The energy that once defined him had faded. His movements were slower, more careful, and his face showed the weight of everything he had been through. This wasn't the Prince of Darkness from the stage. This was a man at the end of a battle he had fought for far too long. For years, Ozzy had kept much of his condition private. Whispers of health issues had followed him since his neck injury in 2019, which had left him with serious nerve damage. Parkinson's disease was later confirmed. After multiple surgeries, setbacks, and physical struggles, he stopped performing live altogether. Fans clung to hope, but each canceled appearance told its own story. This time, there was no denying the truth. Ozzy laid everything out. He shared how much his health had declined, explaining that daily life had become difficult. The pain was constant. He could no longer move freely or even stand for long periods. And despite working with doctors and undergoing therapy, he knew he would never return to the way things were. He had pushed through as much as humanly possible, but the limits were now clear. Still, through all of it, there was one thing he couldn't let go of: his connection to his fans. For more than 5 decades, they had been with him through every stage of his life. The early years in Birmingham, the chaos of Black Sabbath, the solo tours, the scandals, the comebacks. Now, in this final stretch, he felt he owed them something. He shared his final plan. He wanted to perform one last concert. Not a farewell tour or a full set of shows, just one final night. It would be a goodbye. Not just from the stage, but from everything. A way to close the chapter in front of the very people who had supported him through it all. Doctors had warned him that even one concert could be a risk, but he was determined to make it happen. And then there was the photo, one that broke the internet. Ozzy lying in a hospital bed, pale, eyes closed, surrounded by machines. People asked, "Is this goodbye?" But that wasn't the whole story. The photo was from months before, taken after one of his surgeries. He was stable now, but still fragile, and he knew it. Breaking, Ozzy Osbourne finally breaks silence on his health battle. And it's tragic. Ozzy finally spoke. Quietly, honestly, and without any showmanship. He admitted what fans had feared. His body couldn't take much more. He was in pain every day. Walking was a challenge. Singing was harder than ever. But then, almost out of nowhere, he said something that no one was prepared for. "I want to do one last show. Just one, not for the industry, not for a record, for the fans. I want it to be my goodbye forever." Those words hit like thunder. After years of decline, years of hoping and worrying, Ozzy had spoken. He wasn't planning a comeback. He was planning a farewell. It is going to be the final chapter. One last concert. One last time to stand under the lights. One last time to scream into the dark. Black Sabbath has announced what is expected to be their final concert with the original lineup. Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward. The show, titled Back to the Beginning, will take place on July 5th at Villa Park in Birmingham, England, the band's hometown. This will be the first time in 20 years that the original members will perform together. The concert will feature other major metal and rock acts, including Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, Gojira, Hailstorm, Alice in Chains, Lamb of God, Anthrax, Mastodon, and a special supergroup led by Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine. Ozzy will perform a short solo set before joining Black Sabbath for the final performance. Given the band members' age and Ozzy's health struggles, this concert is to be their true final farewell. The event honors their roots and legacy, marking an emotional moment for fans and the band. And just like that, the stage is set. Ozzy Osbourne, the man who defied time, fate, and even death itself, is ready to speak again. Not with words, but with music. After everything, the chaos, the fame, the survival, Ozzy is ready to end things on his terms, not with silence, not with rumors, but with a final, honest farewell. What comes after goodbye? Ozzy Osbourne's health revelation and announcement of his final concert sent waves through the music world and beyond. Fans, fellow musicians, and critics expressed deep respect and sadness, reflecting on the legacy of a man who helped shape heavy metal history. Social media is flooded with messages of support, memories, and gratitude. For many, it feels like the end of an era. The music community acknowledges the courage it takes for Ozzy to share his struggles so openly. Parkinson's disease is a relentless condition affecting millions, but few public figures speak about it with such raw honesty. Ozzy's willingness to confront his illness publicly raises awareness and brings new attention to the challenges faced by those battling neurological disorders. Behind the scenes, preparations for the final concert intensify. The team works hard to ensure the event is both safe and meaningful. Adjustments are made to accommodate Ozzy's physical limits, including shorter set times and provisions for performing while seated. The goal is to celebrate his career, honor his impact, and provide a space for closure, not just for Ozzy, but for his devoted fans worldwide. Sharon Osbourne, his wife and longtime manager, plays a crucial role in supporting him through this final chapter. Her commitment to his health and legacy remains steadfast, helping to organize the concert and manage his care. She ensures that while the show is smaller in scale, it still carries the powerful spirit of Black Sabbath and Ozzy's solo work. Iconic metal bands from all around the globe will join Ozzy in saying his final goodbye. All profits go to Parkinson's research and local children's hospitals, adding deeper meaning to the event. This final performance is a celebration of Ozzy's long career and an opportunity to give back to causes close to his heart. For Ozzy himself, the coming months are about more than the final show. They represent a chance to find peace and spend time with family. After decades on the road and battling illness, this moment offers reflection and preparation for life beyond the spotlight. The announcement sparks conversations about health and aging among rock stars, many of whom face similar battles privately. Ozzy's story reminds everyone that even icons are human, vulnerable, determined, and full of contradictions. As the concert date approaches, the world watches and waits. This is not just a performance, it is a goodbye forever, a closing chapter in the life of a man who changed music history and touched millions. Whatever happens next, Ozzy Osbourne's legacy is secure, and this final act makes it all the more poignant. Is Ozzy the most influential person in metal history? Let us know in the comments.